I've noticed in the media a lot recently, the idea of the heroic dose of psychedelics is getting quite a bit of coverage. I've also noticed that the heroic dose is often a more male oriented element of psychedelics. I know you've spoken elsewhere about your thoughts on the heroic dose, so I thought you might be able to cover that a little bit for us now.
What exactly is heroic about taking a really big dose? I mean, it's the wrong word, It's like if people are having an experience and coming back with something of value, fantastic. But it's not about the dosage. It's like those +4 experiences can happen on tiny doses if everything else is lined up, or they can happen on big doses, but they're not guaranteed. You can't predict, oh, I'm going to take a huge dose of something and have one of those, like +4 experiences. It's just not, there's no way you can reliably predict that. And this notion of people talking about heroic doses real in my opinion leads other people to take too big of doses. And if the dose of a psychedelic that you're taking is too large, you tend to come back with very little except a feeling of thankfulness it's over. And that could be okay, but there's a lot more potential that can actually happen if a person is in the right place and in the right space and is taking an appropriate dosage level. But and I think what it is, and again, I'm not meaning to criticize uh, anyone, but like in Michael Pollan's book, he's pushing people to take big doses. And that's very potentially counterproductive. And I've talked with, therapists who are being contacted by people who read Pollan's book, and it's like, oh yeah, I really want to get closer to my 90-year-old father, so I'm going to give him a big dose of mushrooms, and we're going to have a good trip together, and we're going to bond, and you know, good luck. I mean, that's not necessarily the way it's going to work. I mean, especially with, like mushrooms, mushroom of all the psychedelics, mushrooms are one of the more problematic ones. They're, yeah, I mean, for several different reasons. One, you have a spike in your blood pressure from the psilocin. And so there's this very strong pressor effect. For most of us, that poses no problem. But if a person had, cardiovascular disease or heart problems, or was prone to a stroke or a heart attack, a really big dose of mushrooms could actually be fatal to them. And it wouldn't be the mushrooms that killed them, it would have been their pre-existing condition. But, this dismissing things is totally safe without concern for the fact there are people who have heart challenges. Then there's also the issue where psilocin itself is cardiotoxic. But the fact is, people don't eat mushrooms every day. They eat them infrequently. And the amount of psilocin you're ingesting is typically a few milligrams. So you're taking trivial doses infrequently. So the molecule might, in fact, be cardiotoxic, but it's not posing a health risk to people because of how they're doing it. But it's when you start talking about taking big doses, um, things that are safe at smaller levels may or may not be at strong levels. The other thing I've noticed with mushrooms is more than any other molecules, I've seen people lose their shit on them and just melt down, have panic reactions, jump out of moving cars. Um, there's safety is what we make it. That it doesn't come, this is, I think, why I think it's Andrew Weil that started promoting the natural entheogens over the synthetics, on the notion that because they have all of this history of human usage, they've been proven safe. And I think that's more PR than it actually is real. Because no drug is safe. I mean, it's nothing is safe. Walking down the street's not safe. And this idea that things need to be safe is delusional. in my opinion. If people really wanted a safe molecule and they were wanting to trip, I would suggest 100 mics of acid over 3 grams of mushrooms. They're a lot they're a lot less likely to have a panic reaction. And I don't know, it's to each their own though. I know I get a lot of people upset with me for saying anything bad about mushrooms. And it's not my intention to say anything bad about them. It's just, I don't agree that things should have an unrealistic veneer of safety that's not real. Because risk management is about, weighing our risks and taking steps to avoid harm. And that's what we really should be focused on rather than blithely declaring something to be safe and dismissing other things on the notion that they came out of labware rather than a plant. It's just I know that it's not the most popular opinion to have, but it's the opinion I have.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about heroic doses is often you're pushing on through so much that you push on through to the point of not really being able to have any memory or bring much back.
Well, right, right. So what's the point if you come back from it with nothing but a sense of relief it's over and you have very little memory of the event? Um, this is an experience that we're supposed to be learning from, and we're supposed to be bringing something back that we incorporate into our lives that can become part of us. Because otherwise it's just mindless entertainment. And I don't believe that's why people trip. There's a lot better forms of mindless entertainment, frankly. Well, also what you said earlier was very solid, where, there's this male thing of excess and competition, like, who can take the most drugs, who can slam the most beers. That stupid testosterone driven idiocy. And I think that is the basis of it. And if somebody just wants to see how much psychedelic they can do, I mean, I guess good luck.
Yeah,
It's
because
just
they may be converting behavior where they're like, going mountain bike riding and they want to go down the steepest hill, the fastest hill. They're racing cars, they want to go fast. And then,
yeah.
they've got other activities that are along the same line. They convert that when they get interested in these substances, then they're suddenly like, oh, okay, well, I've got to take more. I've got to take more.
Yeah.
I might
And
go.
it's not a contest. It's
Yeah,
not a fucking contest. I mean, this is, but somehow sometimes it gets approached like it is some sort of contest to see, who can take the biggest dose. And, what do you win if you win?
yeah. And if you're having a contest ultimately with yourself, then maybe you should chill out.
Yeah.